Good morning. It is Mindy again, up bright and early for day four of Christmas cookie / baking. All right, I am going to tell you what we're making, and then we're gonna jump on in because I'm halfway through this recipe. I'll explain that in a second. We're making fudge today, and I am at the point where I have boiled everything except, well, I have boiled everything, and then I just need to add the chocolate and the marshmallow cream. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and then I'm gonna run down the recipe for you, and I'll explain it as we go. I had to get to this point because it required several minutes of standing at the stove with my back turned toward the camera. I'm like, well, nobody needs to see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the chocolate, the marshmallow cream, and the vanilla, and then I'll walk you step by step through what I just did. Okay. This is one of those recipes where you definitely want to have everything ready and at hand because you're working with very time, temperature, sensitive things. Although this is so hot right now that you got a little bit of time. But like I said, I'll talk you through it, show you kind of what I did. Marshmallow cream. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Has anybody done any of their Christmas shopping yet? I am kind of working through that. What is today? December 3rd. I always feel like the first week of December, I'm like, I've got time. It's good. And then before you know it, it's like December 20th, and it all goes very quickly. So, okay. Right now I think I can actually talk about this recipe. I'm adding vanilla as my final step. Okay, so what I have stirred together here is Fantasy Fudge. It is the recipe you will find on the Kraft Jet Puffed Marshmallow Cream container. And then I had seen a copy a long time ago in a magazine when people used to read magazines, and I had cut it out and saved it. It's forever years old in my little recipe book here. So you can find it online, obviously. There are a bunch of different recipes out there for fudge. And as a matter of fact, there is an easier one that I have that I was thinking I might share later into the days of baking. But this one, in my opinion, is the OG of fudge. Yes, I just used the term OG like I'm 17. Okay, but it's the best one that I have found. It sets up really nicely. It's kind of a classic. So what you will need is 3/4 cup of butter, which is a stick and a half. You don't have to leave that out softened because you're going to melt it. So stick and a half of butter, 5 ounces of not sweetened condensed milk, back up, 5 ounces of evaporated milk. This is a bigger can. I love when I can find the smaller cans and you just use the little tiny can, but I couldn't find it. So I can save this in the fridge for a few days and probably do another round actually. But you'll need that, and then technically 3 cups of sugar, but I'm gonna get back to that. You will then need a bag of chocolate. I use semi-sweet. I happen to use the minis because they're on sale. One container of, I think it's 7 ounces. Yeah, 7 ounces of Jet Puffed. Sometimes these are sold in the bigger jar, but I was able to find the correct size here. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. So just gonna make sure I didn't forget anything. Yes. All right, so you boil your butter, your evaporated milk, and your sugar. Now I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. You guys can try this. I don't know, if you've never made this before, you might want to try it both ways. I used to make the recipe using the full amount of sugar, and in the last few years, I have actually cut the sugar down to about 2 cups. And it's still plenty sweet because you figure you've got your sugar, you've got your chocolate, and you've got your marshmallow cream, which are all very sweet things. I have not found that it affects the recipe to cut it. But like I said, if you've never made this before and you're not sure, you might want to use the full amount, and then you might want to kind of, you know, just play around and see. A lot of times I cut sugar. I almost never put the full amount of sugar in cookies. I'm trying to think what else. Brownies. Brownies I'll usually use the full amount because it's a little more with the semi-sweet chocolate. I don't know. The recipe I have doesn't call for all that much sugar comparatively. So, but things that are super sweet, you can usually cut out a little bit. It does not make it a health food by any means, but I figure, save where you can. So I've got this all stirred up. So after you boil, you melt the first 3 ingredients, you get that to a point of boiling. On the stove, it'll be a slow boil at first, and it gradually gets to be more and more and more. Very, very hot, so be very careful. I let it do like a rolling boil for about 4 minutes, and I stir it the entire time. You don't want it to scald, and so that's why you have to stir it. And you just want to be very careful because it gets up to, I think if you're using a candy thermometer, which I never do, but if you want to use that, I think it's 238 degrees, so it's pretty hot. So once you get that to a rolling boil for about 4 minutes and everything's good and bubbly and dissolved, you will then add your 12 ounces of chocolate. I just use, like I said, a bag of chocolate chips. You can use semi-sweet, you can use milk chocolate, you can use really dark chocolate. If you want to do white chocolate, you can even do white chocolate. White chocolate's super sweet. It's not my most favorite, but occasionally I have made it with white chocolate and then done like crushed candy excuse me. Morning. I have done either crushed candy canes or little peppermint bits. So for just kind of like a pepperminty white chocolate kind of a thing. So anyway, so you add in the chocolate, it will melt very quickly. I'm going to continue to stir this so it doesn't set up while I'm talking. Once the chocolate is all incorporated, you then will add your marshmallow cream. Incorporate that. That takes a little bit of stirring. I actually prefer using the whisk. And you need a wire whisk. This is like a cute little silicone whisk, but I love the colors. You need kind of that wire whisk because it's kind of a thick mixture to stir. Then you add your marshmallow cream, like I was saying, and stir that all in. And then the last step is a teaspoon of vanilla, and you just mix that in. Now, if I were making just plain flavor, I would go ahead and I would pour this mixture into just one, I should have checked the measurement. I think this is it's an 8x8. I would pour this into one 8x8, and it would be pretty thick, like a thick layer. But I'm gonna actually make 2 different flavors, if you will. And so I'm going to split it between the 2 pans, and it's just gonna be thinner, like thinner little slices, but it's just for fun. My family had requested one type, and I wanted to do a different kind for the video. So that is what we're gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna pause stirring for a second. I know I'm talking really fast. I'm like, don't set up. Everything melt and stay how it should be while I talk really quickly. So anyway, I'm gonna leave that for a second. I chopped up about 10 Andes mints, and it's the holiday ones. So they're a little bit bigger and thicker. Otherwise, I'd probably use about 15 of the regular Andes mints. I'm gonna actually sprinkle a couple in the bottom of this first pan. Get this out of the way for a second. Then I am going to put a little layer of the fudge on top of that. It's not even completely covering the bottom of the pan because, like I said, I'm dividing it. Then I'm going to do another little layer of the Andes mints. Now, the Andes mints melt really quickly. I'm just going to kind of do a little swirl with the knife just to kind of get that swirled in there. Then I'm going to finish topping off this particular batch like so. And I'm just kind of not really measuring, I'm just guessing what's about half the pan. Now, while I'm thinking about it, once these are all distributed into the pans, I'm going to put these in the fridge for, I think it's about 3 hours before it fully sets up. What I like to do, okay, finish sprinkling that. Sorry, give me one moment here to sprinkle while I am thinking. What I like to do is after about an hour, and if I'm home, I mean, if you're not, if you gotta go do something else, it's fine. But if I happen to be around, about an hour and a half or 2 hours after, I will take it out of the fridge and see if it's set up enough to cut into slices. And it's gonna be hard to see, but I've got a little minty thing going there. I will cut it into slices before it firms up all the way because it's much easier to cut then. And also, I should make mention, I did a foil lined pan and then sprayed this with nonstick spray because when the fudge is ready to cut and serve, you just lift it out, put it on your cutting board, peel away the foil, and just slice. It's so much easier than slicing it from the pan. Okay. I am going to now take a cup of peanut butter chips. It's going to be peanut butter swirl. I'm going to put about half of those in there. And I'm going to finish, this is already starting to kind of thicken up. I am going to swirl that into the chocolate and get that all good and melted and incorporated in there. And I thought I had everything ready. I did not. Okay, so that's kind of melted. I'm going to do about half of that into the pan. And then the other little half cup of peanut butter chips, I'm going to sprinkle a few, and they'll kind of melt throughout. And then put the rest of this on. And then I'll put the last bit of chips on there and give them a quick little knife swirl. And then when you, the plan is when you go to cut into this, you've got like the chocolate peanut butter swirl kind of thing. And the reason that I put some into the chocolate to melt was to give it kind of that whole chocolate peanut butter flavor throughout. This would have been easier if I had just done one pan for each, just from the timing perspective, because this is kind of starting to set up a little bit. But I just wanted to show you there's a couple different things you can do. And then I don't think you know what, I'm not going to even end up using the full cup because I think it would be a little overwhelming. So in the meantime, I'll just kind of swirl that on top just so you can kind of see a little bit, so that when someone sees it, they're like, oh, it's not just chocolate and peanut butter. Okay, and then I'll find a spot in my fridge for these in a little bit. But what I like about this recipe is that you really can kind of do whatever little additives you want. I've done salted caramel before, where I have melted caramel and kind of swirled that throughout and then sprinkled it with some sea salt, so that's fun. I think I mentioned the white chocolate. You can also do the regular chocolate and peppermint. That's really good too. Chocolate and Andy's mint, which we did. I'm trying to think what else. There's all kinds of things you can add, and there's all kinds of fun little candies. You could do Twix, kind of like a nice little crunch. Yeah, kind of just see what you think. All right. This isn't super pretty, but it kind of gives you the idea of like the chocolate peanut butter swirl. So I'm going to finish those, or I guess they are finished. I'm going to put those in the fridge, finish cleaning up. I think I covered all my little tips here. Like I said, there's a simpler recipe that I'm going to try to share later in the series because it's super, super easy. And it tastes good. The texture is just a little bit different in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's about it. So I'm going to finish, like I said, finish cleaning up, get going on the day, and let these chill. And then if I can remember, maybe I'll slice it up and show you kind of what it looks like. I mean, not that you don't know what cut up treats look like, but if I can get around to it, I will put some on a plate and show that for the next video if I can remember. So anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.